What's up? Welcome to Tales Tomorrow. I am Morrow, your storyteller for today, and with me we have some more RPG horror stories. If you play Tiefling in D&D, Pathfinder, or any other TTRPG, and you have some sort of pretty art of your Tiefling, I would love to see it. Either in the comment section, email, just in general, I need some Tiefling pics. Tieflings are really cool, and I'd love to see some Tiefling art just in general. It's like that one meme of like send nudes, but instead it's just send Tieflings. Anyway, I'm gonna get to the first RPG horror story for today. Problem player Sigma Male takes things to a physical level. Hi y'all, this happened fairly recently. This is a story about a very deluded individual with a fortunate happy ending. I waited a while to post this because I wanted to talk to almost every party member to get the most accurate picture of what had happened. Took a little longer because of school nearing the end of the semester for us all. I'm using a throwaway because the people involved are Redditors as well. If the player who is the cause of all this mayhem sees this, you know what you did. Please, I'm asking you to step away from the internet and seek help. You need it. Marked not safe for work, for language, and some adult themes. Note this may be a long read, there are a lot of details that I feel need to be included, so there's a fair warning, but if you don't like the longer post, skip. So I have a Discord server with 3 of my closest friends. Let's call them Dan, Bob, and Jess. We have been playing video games with each other for years and recently wanted to get into D&D. Around the time we wanted to start, Jess got a new boyfriend. We'll call him Gunk. Gunk at first didn't seem like a problem at all. He was on the quiet side, but once he got used to us, he was talkative and friendly. As he was also a huge gamer, he played video games with us daily. Even in a competitive atmosphere, he never lost his friendliness towards us. To be honest, it was nice having a new person around to play with. Also, Jess and Gunk were a fairly closed-off couple. What I mean by that is that they never went to big displays of affection for each other when spending time with us to not make us uncomfortable. So why would I name him Gunk? Well, because for some reason D&D apparently was the key to unlocking his inner demons. We knew from gaming and hanging out that Gunk was a bit of an edgelord, and he always drawn to edgy characters and themes in games we played. We also later learned after this mess from Jess that Dan, Bob, and I all made him feel inferior. I say this because I think it provides insight into how his campaign-ruining character was created. One of the biggest downfalls out there for any sort of bad behavior I realized is insecurity. Insecurity is a problem to deal with, but if you have insecurity, you gotta deal with it as best as you can. You gotta figure it out. It's a problem for everybody. I have a ton of insecurities and I constantly think about stuff. Even when I'm recording now, I have my insecurities on my head and in my mind, and I'm just blabbering on because that's my coping mechanism. I just keep moving forward and I don't think about my insecurities because I'm too busy doing this. And I love it. This is how I deal with my insecurities. Reading RPG horror story cringe. Anyway, let's continue. Also, just as a little side note, I believe edgelords aren't inherently bad. I think they can potentially provide interesting party dynamics. However, the way Gunk went about this character was just awful. Also, extra side note, this was everyone's first exposure to D&D except for Gunk, so we are going to make a lot of dumb rookie mistakes. Anyway, let's get into what happened. We all discussed playing D&D and invited Gunk to join us. Jess wanted to be the DM and got to work on campaign with the help of her dad, a big D&D veteran of over 20 years, damn. While the rest of us made characters, we ended up having a session 0 with no input on what the campaign was about. Jess wanted to start with us walking up to a mysterious dungeon with no memory, but she didn't say that until we started. So session 0 was just us players making a party comp that was balanced and sharing our backstories and such. If anyone wants to know, here's the lineup. Me, Mounted Dwarf Fighter, Bob, Tiefling Bard, Dan, Human Wizard, Gunk, Wolfborn Rogue. So one of these things is not like the other. Gunk homebrewed his race. He described them as part wolf, part human with a tragic history. Yeah, of course it's gotta be tragic history. Why wouldn't it be tragic history? It's an edgelord character that's a wolfborn. Of course it's gotta have some sort of tragedy in it. That's understandable. Sorry, I'm not laughing at like tragic backstories for characters. It's so cliche for an edgelord to have a tragic backstory, tragic history, and it's some sort of a wolf, a lone wolf character, literally a lone wolf metaphor. He had +3 for dexterity and wisdom, +2 for strength, and +1 for initiative. What? Dark vision, advantage to wisdom and dexterity saving throws. Oh, okay, yeah, no, this guy's just exploiting the naivete of Jess, the DM, to just make a busted homebrew. 3 in dexterity and wisdom, 2 in strength, and an extra addition to initiative? Wild, advantage in dexterity and wisdom. I don't care too much about busted homebrew. Like, if it's busted, it's busted. But, like, you gotta be very careful when it comes to, like, adding homebrew in games, and it's something for Jess to definitely learn as a lesson. If you are a new DM, be very careful when players ask for homebrew. Always make sure to read through it and really consider, is it balanced? Oh, this guy, this Wolfborn has all these additions. Let's see what a regular, like, race selection is. Oh, +2, +1? Yeah, this might be a little overpowered. And then just talk to the player and figure out some sort of a change that can do. I mean, honestly, you could just recommend to the guy, hey, why not just grab the shifter? Because that's basically what you're doing, except not busted. Shifter is a lot more balanced, level-headed, reasonable, perhaps. Anyway, let's go on. Jess, not knowing any better, at first said his race was fine. But Dan was a little suspicious and eventually compared Gunk's Wolfborn to the other handbook races. Dan would then say that Gunk's race was absurdly more powerful than anything the handbook offered. When shown the evidence, Jess agreed and said that Gunk would need to figure something else out. Gunk grudge counter 1. I'm assuming we should probably keep a Gunk grudge counter. I don't even know what. I'll find something of Gunk. Like, we'll put Gunk here. We'll put a number next to it right there. And then we'll just keep a Gunk grudge counter for the story, I guess. Gunk was a little unhappy that Dan was so determined to ensure his creative vision didn't see light and blamed it on Dan's distaste for tragic or dark themes in video games. Now, a little background as to why he said that is because Dan is in fact not a fan of edgy characters and such. He's fine with them being in games and all, but he's never one to actually take an interest or like them. He thinks they're dumb, and unfortunately, Dan faced a lot of domestic abuse and family death growing up. So when edgy characters go in depth about just how tragic and dark the backstory is, it hits Dan a bit differently. Thankfully, the group ruled that this wasn't just because Dan wasn't a fan, but because Gunk's race was a lot stronger than it should be. Just went back and forth with Gunk and then made a compromise. Gunk's Wolffolk kept the bonus to initiative and had a +2 to dexterity and +1 to wisdom with dark vision. He chose Rogue as his class. Then came Gunk's backstory. Brace yourselves. I don't recall word for word what he said, but it went something like this. Alright, everybody get ready. We're gonna do a proper reading in the most edgiest voice imaginable. I'm trying to mimic Shadow from Sonic. Abandoned at birth and raised by wolves, Malice learned the hard way around winning or you die, and forced himself to push all he had to keep up with his canine family. Some goddess of wolves granted him to be part of human and part wolf after recognizing his determination. Now he seeks to bring glory and conquer any challenge he comes across for his pack and goddess. Then one day he came home to his pack's lair to find them all dead, killed by human hunters. He killed them all and now wears their hair as a coat, and how he has a newfound bloodlust to fill the crack of his broken man. He then went into detail about how he suspects only the loving embrace of a woman who accepts his wild soul could potentially heal him. Okay, I got questions. First of all, is he setting up some sort of like a love interest in a backstory to be added to the campaign? Probably, right? Probably. He's expecting, hey Jess, she's gonna put in some sort of a love interest NPC and stuff, so there we go. And then he said he wears the hair? Like the human hair? He's scalped the humans and turned into a coat, like the hair, not like the fur of the wolf, like human hair as a coat. That sounds disgusting. That sounds awful. Human hair coat, is that a thing? Has anybody ever made human hair clothing? That sounds, I imagine it's just terrible and smells awful. It smells worse than dog. Jesus. I'm gonna be honest, I was trying my hardest not to laugh. I was very glad we were playing in person and not online. So yeah, that was our party lineup. I'm not including anyone else's backstory because they don't really have too much relevance and also don't have as much content and juice. The edgy juice. Delicious. With the session 0 out of the way, we set up a weekly time to play and had a solid amount of good sessions. We did in fact wake up in a dungeon and had to improvise a way out and fight off some basic weak undead enemies. When we found the light of day, we stumbled upon a village that was being harassed by a large goblin clan. The village elder offered a reward for us to scatter them and gave us a forward payment to buy proper equipment. since the stuff we found in dungeon were all improvised weapons and armor. Fast forward a few more encounters, we get to level 3 and manage to track down the goblin camp. After some college-educated planning, we decide to just break in and rush into the camp. Found ourselves swarmed instantly by a huge number of goblins. Gunk went first with his high initiative and managed to kill a goblin in one hit. He got a few good jobs from us. Next was Dan, who literally incinerated 18 of these little buggers with burning hands. We're all in ecstatic uproar by this. Just as Dad happened to be nearby when this occurred and offered the idea that the rest of the goblins, save the chief, should be frightened for a few turns. Jess agreed, and our spirits were raised higher. All except Gunk, of course, who spoke up about an apparent discrepancy. Wouldn't they be frightened when I'm near them because of my imposing appearance? Probably not. What? Remember that my character is 6'6" Wolfman with a peak physique. How would that not scare them? Is he trying to scare them or turn them on? He's describing his physique, like he is ripped, Chad, tallest and everything. Also 6'6". Of course, every single Edgelord character has to be some sort of a tall ass dude every single time. Well, if you're trying to intimidate one of them, I'll probably give you an advantage. But goblins don't care what they fight. If they have the numbers, they'll be confident in combat. Dan has taken that away now, so they are frightened. I disagree, but okay. What if I kill their leader? Sure, if the leader dies, I'm sure they'll all be frightened in general. Remember though that Jess is the DM. What she says goes. I think they'll be frightened. Thank you. Grudge counter number 2. We ignored this outburst and continued the fight. I should note that the goblins were all level 1 to 2, but the leader was level 5. Despite the advantage that Dan had got us, we were still getting beat up pretty badly. We were running out of party healing with Bob's spells. Soon enough, the only party member capable of healing was Dan as a necromancer with Grim Harvest. Despite our situation, Gunk had a bright idea to disengage and run past the horde of goblins to fight the chief on his own. I bare my teeth at the chief, demanding a duel between the two of us. Chirp, chirp, silence. You do what now? I challenged the chief to a duel. Oh, okay. Well, given your character's instinct and general knowledge of goblin behavior, you know it is unlikely for the chief to honor a duel. Do you still wish to continue? Sure, he'll need the help anyway. We proceed to watch a goblin chief bring Gunk down to 1 health in a single turn and no way to heal. We all had to discuss what to do since having a down party member would really hurt us right now. Dan suddenly pipes up. I have a question. Grim Harvest says that I heal when I kill with a spell. Is there any way I could transfer my healing to someone else? Jess is silent for a few moments before calling her dad over. That's an interesting idea. I would say yes, as long as you're within 10 feet of them and you already have full health. We all then discuss the process of escorting Dan within 10 feet of Gunk and doing our best to ensure he doesn't get harmed. Gunk remains silent during this time. Our turns cycle and Gunk moves away from the chief. I use a reaction to body block a shot that would have hit Dan, and Dan manages to reach Gunk, killing another goblin in the process. However, it seemed that Gunk was not a big fan of being helped. Gunk grudge counter 3. And this is the biggest crux of a lot of these edgelord lone wolf types. D&D, or really most TTRPGs, is not a solo adventure, it's a party adventure, it's a party cohesion game. You gotta move as a unit. You are a party unit moving through together. Working with your party is the best and only way to win D&D. Because trying to challenge things on your own, especially if it's something that's a really high level and surrounded by a bunch of allies and stuff, that's just putting yourself out at a disadvantage. Like, if you're just putting yourself into the horde and your DM says, hey, the chief is not going to honor the agreement or anything, they're probably going to try to pull some sort of dirty tricks, and you just get laid out, you probably should reconsider not taking those actions. Your DM threw you the bone, Wolfman, and it's hilarious because Wolfman and bone. But when the DM is giving you the bone, you take the bone. You listen to what the DM says. If you don't, kind of on you at that point, but I don't know what to tell you. I'd like to transfer my healing to Gunk in character. Allow me. Save it. I don't need help. You're barely standing, my friend. We aren't friends. Get lost. Well, of course, he's a loner that doesn't have any friends and stuff. Wow, you're not gonna do great as a solo for a D&D campaign, my man, just telling you. It took the whole party to convince Gunk to grudgingly accept the healing. It saved his life and he took damage next turn but managed to stay up. Together, the party kills the rest of the goblins and Gunk gets the final blow on the chief. Brace yourselves. There's another Gunk moment coming up. Wolf growl. This kill is mine. The treasure he holds belongs to me. Are you joking? This was a team effort. You didn't get all the spoils.
Aha! The cub dares to challenge his alpha?
Wait, what? Is he saying it in character or out of character? Also, alpha? Oh my god, don't tell me he's actually gonna go a cringe lord into this. He's going full cringe lord, isn't he? Gunk then howls loudly, and to his credit, he sounds a lot like a wolf, which is ridiculous for two reasons. One, it's cringe as hell. Seriously, why do people do that? Two, it means he's been practicing. Oh god, pure, unadulterated, just pure cringe. Oh, my body is shivering and cringe and disgust, and I love it. I'm a masochist for cringe. Let's keep going. We're all then jump scared by Dan's great Pyrenees barking like crazy in the background of his mic. Apparently, Gunk was loud enough to pass through Dan's headphones. We listened to Dan yell until his dog finally quieted down. I'd like to respectfully request you never do that again. Yeah, look, I'm glad you want to roleplay, but I don't think howling into everyone's ears is gonna be a good idea.
I understand. My sincerest apologies, everyone.
He never talked this way before. He caught me way off guard. The loot is also not all yours. It will be shared. Gunk grudge counter number 4. We discuss the fair distribution of the loot, then head back and the village elder offers a gift to each of us. I just asked for some of gold. I think Bob and Dan asked for some jewels since the village was a mining village. Then Gunk asked for a night with the fairest maiden in the village. Just awkwardly roleplays the village elder saying yes, but refuses to go into detail and tells Gunk no one wants any details of this night he spends either. We end the session and I immediately contact Bob and Dan to talk. We all agreed that Gunk's strange behavior was very out of practice for him. I suggested asking to kick him, but Bob said that Jess isn't going to kick her boyfriend unless he does something blatantly outrageous. Dan and I agreed that Gunk asking his girlfriend for that kind of prize is outrageous, but Bob argues that no one got hurt or angry and it wasn't our place to make rules for the relationship. Fair enough. This should be definitely brought up 100%. The DM should be aware of problem player behavior at all times, or if something that another player did that made the rest uncomfortable. That's a normal thing to do, regardless of boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever. You should still let people know. If I'm like dating somebody and that being a problem, I want people to tell me, because me as a partner and me as a DM are two separate like instances entirely. As a DM, I want everybody to have fun. And if the problem player is the significant other that I'm with, I'm gonna ask the significant other to knock it off or leave. Simple as that. The next couple of sessions were fine again, but we would learn from Jess later that Gunk wasn't having fun. He then suggested to Jess a new rule to be put into play. Jess agreed, not wanting to lose him as a player. One session, Jess announced a new rule of XP distribution. Combat XP would now be distributed on a weighted scale based on how much damage you contribute. More damage, more XP. The call was silent before I spoke up. How is that fair? Yeah, we have 2 damage dealers in the party. Well, I want to make sure that everyone is equally compensated for their actions in combat. Okay, well, wouldn't I get extra XP for healing or buffing? Wouldn't I also get extra XP for tanking and distracting enemies? No, I don't know how a working weight scale would work with all that. Plus, damage is what actually ends the fight, so I think the emphasis should be put on it. I'm gonna be honest, I don't see how this helps anyone.
What do you mean? Why are you upset about it? It helps us, dude. We'll get rewarded for being good at our job. Everyone can just build a character, take a hit, or be a musician playing behind us all. Takes skill to be a good damage dealer.
Wow, look at me doing damage. A rolling die. Whoa, look at that. A 16. Okay, rolling damage die. What am I using? A greatsword? 2d6. Whoa, I got a 13. Wow, I'm so skilled at doing damage. This guy's an idiot. This guy's literally an idiot. You have people that are playing the tank role, the support role, the healer role. You have so many support capabilities that you can play that could be way more useful than damage. Yeah, I know high damage is still pretty important in D&D in general, and just general TTRPG like Pathfinder and stuff. I get dealing damage is what ends the fights, but you know what also keeps people alive? Healing, support capabilities, anything of that kind. Be able to take the brunt of the damage, be able to withstand the brunt of enemies beating the hell out of you instead of the rest of the party, so the rest of the party can easily and gently do damage and heal. There's so much more you could do when it comes to strategy instead of just doing damage. And he's trying to convince Jess to basically just reward himself. He's gaslighting Jess with a stupid dumb rule just so he can get some sort of like a extra thing. Why do you even do this in the first place? Why not just have everybody get XP equally? It just doesn't make sense. This guy just trying to get a stupid advantage. That's a dick thing to say, buddy.
I'm just speaking the truth.
Okay, before we start screaming at one another, let's step back. I'm not upset at this rule, but I don't think it should be a thing. Dan goes pretty in depth about why he thinks this rule is dumb. I am paraphrasing here, but he basically says that allowing him and Gunk to grow stronger will only hurt them in the long end because the party needs each other. Having a weak tank and utility will bring a lot of pressure on them, and while they're a damage dealer, he points out that a lot of damage they do is dependent on the crowd control Bob and I provide, specifically Gunk's sneak attack and his dependencies on my positioning. To our surprise, after about 30 minutes of them talking, Gunk actually agrees with Dan and the rule is abolished. Props to him for keeping us calm and talking through the situation to conclusion. Dan is the MVP here. I appreciate him. So the session continued, and while Gunk agreed with what had happened, it still didn't fix the fact that he wasn't having fun. Now, his greatest crime spree would start. There was a week where neither Bob nor Dan could play the night before of school-related things, so Jess announced that the session was cancelled, except it wasn't. Gunk somehow convinced Jess to allow him to have a private session on his own. He even made a second character, a paladin, to tank for him. He played both in his own private session and was able to level up from it. Leveling up, okay, that's a huge red flag, and I really wish somebody would have stopped Jess in this sort of situation. It kind of made me realize something. I know somebody that actually also allowed another person to have a solo session of their own, and it didn't exactly help with that particular person's attitude about things and other players and stuff. It was a big mess. Don't have solo sessions where you can benefit from it. What is he just? He's solo grinding basically. He thinks it's like an RPG or an MMO and just solo grinding right now with an NPC pal that's going to be tanking for him. What is this? This is ridiculous. You can imagine our surprise the next week when he pulled out 2 icons of the digital board of his characters, which were both level 5 compared to ours, which were at level 4. The group was not happy and only got incredibly frustrated when Jess explained what had happened. I don't remember the argument, but eventually Jess agreed to revert his level back to ours. Gunk got to keep both characters, but was told he couldn't play both at the same time. This somehow translated to Gunk that he could swap his characters out when he wanted, which was never discussed. During the middle of the fight, Gunk suddenly describes a glowing beam of moonlight shining on his character. We all hear a mighty howl of wolf as his character shifts into a paladin of his wolf goddess. Oh my god, hold on one second. I am having such a weird deja vu. There was another player that a DM allowed to have 2 characters. One was a wizard and the other one was a paladin, almost like an alter ego of them. And the 2 were allowed. Oh my god, were there so many problems in the other campaign that I was in that I never realized it until I'm reading this whole I am realizing that there was so many problems that I never realized. It's the one I wrote the RPG horror story about, that whole campaign. But like, there was so many problems, and I'm just now realizing there were so many weird, strange problems that were definitely red flag. Oh my god, I'm having revelations. I'm having demonic revelations. Oh, that feels weird. I have such mixed feelings, but I'm gonna just bury these feelings. I'm gonna continue reading the story because I want to see what happens, and I want to get past I don't want to have trauma from this. I don't want to have weird self-realization trauma mid-episode. Ugh. Are you allowed to just switch like that? Also, I thought your character were 2 separate people. That was only for that one session. I think it makes more sense for my character to instead have 2 forms. Okay, back to what I was trying to say before. He just gets 2 characters that he can just swap whenever? I get he's your boyfriend, but you can't give him a special treatment like this. I cannot believe we just pulling that card. A true sign of a cub. Oh god, it's the cringe, dude. It makes me want to throw up. My man, I don't even know what the hell that means. It means you're stupid and immature. Also, you just proved both my points. Hang on, he is the stupid and immature one? You're trying so hard to play a wolfman to the extent of practicing howling and unironically adopting an alpha wolf lingo.
If you want to be a wolf so bad, get out of here, find a pack and sniff their assholes. Gunk grudge count number 5. Also, that's hilarious about being out there, find a pack and sniff their assholes. Yeah, he's sniffing his own asshole so hard, you should find another pack out there and their assholes to sniff. The session did not last long after this, and we ended up taking a week break of not really talking to one another. When we got back, the session did not last long either. We left off in combat and continued from Gunk's turn. He stayed on his rogue. We were fighting 2 legendary orc warriors and managed to get one down. Gunk got the final blow on him and gave us a "that's right, who alpha?" The other orc got really low, but not low enough for any of us to potentially finish it, save for Dan with his upcasted spell. I can't remember which it was, but I think it was a Witch Bolt or Ray of Sickness. Anyway, Gunk went before Dan and did not like the idea of someone else getting a finishing blow on these enemies. My turn, right? I sneak attack Dan. 18 to hit. Since he isn't facing me, I can pull it off. Okay, roll damage. What? Yeah, what? Huh? What, Jess? What are you doing? Why are you allowing this random PvP? She's a new player, she's a new DM and everything, but still, no. I swear, anytime you want to be a DM, you know what, this should be a rule? Go to RPG Horror Stories or to YouTube or to the Reddit, read some of them, watch the videos, and learn what to avoid. Seriously, these stories are great learning factor for like great case factor for a lot of new DMs to learn of what not to do. Jesus Christ. Okay, I read a little bit ahead of time. Be prepared for the most potent cringe ever because good lord, this is potent. I'm not even gonna have a way to like break apart like any sort of mid commentary stuff. Just we're gonna play this out. Party members can't attack each other. I make an exception here because Dan did go a little far last session. You gotta be kidding me. Because Mr. Alpha Male got his bitchy feelings hurt, you going to let him attack me? Yeah, you went too far. 32. He is down. Alright, Bob, you're up. I'm not down. As a reaction, I use shield, which adds +5 to my AC, bringing it up to 19. His attack missed. Since it's sneak attack, I'm going to rule you don't have time to take a reaction. Oh my god, it's so obvious it hurts. Okay, let me read the rule of shield for you. Casting time, 1 reaction, which you take when you're hit by an attack or targeted by a magic missile spell. An invisible barrier of magical force appears and protects you. Until the start of your next turn, you have a +5 bonus to AC, including against the triggering attacks, and you take no damage from magic missile. This is straight from the rulebook. You wouldn't have time to bring it up. My attack is too fast. For Christ's sake, it literally says that triggering attack is subject to the new AC, which means your attack misses here. You forget that my race is more powerful than your average realm dweller. My character is also blessed by a wolf goddess because of my determination. A strike like this would not be missed. And my dad could beat up your dad. I don't give a crap about your furry wolf wannabe badass. You don't get to change the rules. Jess, control your a-hole friend, please. Dude, you can't just petition the DM to make whatever you want just because she's your girlfriend. Jess? I don't know what to do. Okay, well, since you always take their side, and no one here is mature enough to take a hit to their pride, I am leaving. This campaign sucks anyway. Bye. The most unadulterated cringe from Gunk. Makes me shiver just in complete repulsion, dude. Complete repulsion. This guy's just using the fact that his girlfriend is a newbie DM to just get his way, and is forcing her to basically rule for his side because his fifis are hurt, and because his fifis are hurt that he's such a unironic cringe lord that nobody takes him seriously because he's the most repulsive person at this table, wants to be able to get his way, and he's using his poor DM, his poor girlfriend, to basically rule in his favor. That is so messed up. Jess is in a terrible position, dude. I feel bad for her. She's doing bad behavior things, but she's being influenced and coerced and encouraged by somebody that understands the game and is probably using the rule of knowledge and stuff, and then using manipulation tactics like, well, you always side with them all the time and stuff like that. What a prick. What an absolute fucking prick. Get the fuck out of here, dude. Nobody needs you in this fucking game. Get out of here, man. And there he went. He left the call and the Discord server. Gunk was gone. We're all speechless, and Jess said that she should go talk to him and left. The rest of us remained in silence for a bit before switching over to another game. To this day, none of us sure what brought on this sudden dramatic change of character. Jess believed there was insecurity and the inability to accept that we were doing well in a setting where he thought he should have been the best. However, this story does have a good ending. Gunk and Jess did eventually break up, and I haven't heard from him since.
We continued the campaign with Gunk's character frequently appearing as a comedic relief mini-boss. We just finished the campaign about a week ago. We all figured that it would be a good, fun story to tell. On another fun note, Jess's dad recently announced that his working hours were going to be reduced for a few months. It offered to DM a new campaign for us. I'm extremely excited to see what he brings to the table. One last thing I should mention is that Jess may have made a lot of mistakes here. Gunk definitely took advantage of her. He used the fact that she tends to be a people pleaser and that she has no prior experience of D&D. We were not hard on her for taking his side, and she did apologize for what happened. It's also not really fair to be extremely critical of her since we all made a lot of mistakes in the story. That is all. I sincerely appreciate you reading, and I sincerely appreciate you writing. There's a lot of lessons to be learned for everybody, especially Jess. You're gonna have situations where, as a new DM, you're gonna make mistakes, and making mistakes is fine. What you do with those mistakes and how you learn from them, that's what matters. And I wish Jess and everybody at y'all table to have fun with Jess's dad DMing and stuff, and maybe some of y'all would want to try DMing too. And now that we're done with this, we can also clear out the gunk counter. I don't want no gunk on my screen. Also, my voice hurts from reading the Edgelord voice. I'm gonna need water if I'm gonna record anymore. And with that, that's gonna be all our stories for today. I want to thank you very much for watching, and thanks so much for being here. If you like what I do, consider subscribing to the channel and leaving a like. Also, if the RPG Horror Stories ever goes down, or if you want to submit your own personalized horror story, email is down in the description below. I'll see you again in more Tales Tomorrow. Bye-bye.